airports that are not right in the midst of large metros and popularly considered secondary with a strong cargo-friendly approach are proving their value for freight forwarders and shippers who are looking to move international export and import cargo with speed and reliability. These airports become centers of economic impact for local economies and arteries of global trade and commerce. Chicago Rockford International Airport, the fastest growing cargo airport in the world, one of the top 15 cargo airports in the US, is one such airport where the future of air cargo is going to be. Chicago Rockford International Airport keeps setting gold standards for cargo operations and promises customers the best. The airport claims to be not congested on the ground inside the fence or outside the fence. If the cargo is going to an air freight forwarder, the airport assures that it can have the whole plane load to that forwarder within 5 or 6 hours. The future of air cargo is going to be an airport such as Chicago Rockford International Airport. Hello everyone, I am Reggie John and this is Logistic Tech Dialogues presented by Kale Logistics Solutions. This is our weekly dialogue on innovations and technologies that make logistics move faster and deliver better. Logistic Tech Dialogues is brought to you in partnership with Kale Logistics Solutions, a trusted global logistics IT solutions provider for several Fortune 500 companies worldwide. My guest today is Oakley, Deputy Director of Operations and Planning, Chicago Rockford International Airport. In his current role, Zach has overseen the planning and construction of over $150 million of air cargo infrastructure improvements. He is currently working with airline stakeholders on the next phase of infrastructure improvements to continue to support air cargo growth at Chicago Rockford International Airport. Zach has been with the Chicago Rockford International Airport for the last 16 years. I'm extremely honored to have Zach join us for this conversation. Zach, welcome to Logistic Tech Dialogues. Let's begin with looking at the cargo performance at RFT in 2021 and in the first half of 2022. If you can give us an overview of what has been happening on the cargo side at Chicago Rockford.
2021 in Rockford was a massive historical year for us. I mean, we set our records in terms of cargo volume and cargo landed weight. Saw a increase over 2020, 25%, and just overall it was growth in all three forms of cargo for us, which would be our Amazon operation, the UPS operation, and then our international cargo. Saw growth in all three to allow us to set our landed weight record at 3.4 billion pounds of landed weight and ultimately grow to the 17th largest cargo airport in the U.S. to the 14th largest cargo airport in the U.S. 2022 is exceeding 2021 by about 12% at the moment. So we're still continuing to see that growth across all three in Rockford. International is still continuing to grow. We've had another warehouse come online at the airport, 100,000 square feet. That's opened up in April. But yeah, we're just seeing the continuation of our growth over the last 5 years. Just continue to keep stacking on top of each other and setting our records. We're on track again to break our record for cargo volume and weights in Rockford in 22.
Zach, also give us an overview of the cargo airlines that are operating to RFT and what are the new airlines added in 2022. I believe Emirates Sky Cargo started flying into RFT earlier this year. And are there anything that you can share of any cargo airline, likely cargo airlines that will begin flying to RFT in the remaining part of 2022?
Yeah, so we've had some great new entrants over the last 2 years, with Emirates, as you mentioned, but as well as Qatar coming in, Cargo Lux, Atlas, Air Atlanta, Icelandic, Korean Airlines. coming in direct from Seoul. We've seen a lot of these international carriers just continue to expand. We're also seeing here in the next next couple months, couple new entrants for the end of the year starting to come in. We obviously don't have the agreement signed yet, but we do know we've got at least some growth with Atlas continuing, already operating in here for UPS Supply Chain Solutions. We'll expect to see growth there in those charters, but obviously you've seen with the ocean shipping lines with Maersk and CMA. We expect to see those carriers servicing those two companies, start to enter the market in Rockford because one of our tenants on the field, being Senator International, being purchased and bought by Maersk recently. I do expect to see that to change and that operation to continue to grow.
And how much did it affect RFT when Airbridge Cargo did not or has stopped flying into RFT?
It hasn't negatively affected us, and they were coming in and doing some charters, but it hasn't overall. I mean, obviously they were one that we were talking about some future long-term plans. But obviously that those are kind of on hold at the moment. But yeah, we did see the charters they were operating for us. Obviously, we've lost those.
Zach, tell us also how RFT became the fastest growing cargo airport in the world. According to FAA ranking for 2021, it is the 14th largest cargo airport in the US for landed weight.
Having, like I mentioned previously, with the three different businesses, whether the cargo being Amazon, UPS, and the international operations that are coming into Rockford, having growth and having large growth in each sector was very instrumental in increasing that. I mean, in 2017, UPS it made some adjustments when they closed their Des Moines operation and moved that operation to Rockford. That daytime sort, the second day air product that they moved to Rockford. That was the moment they've really kind of really looked at Rockford a little bit different in terms of, it's an underutilized asset, wanting to push more through. And we've seen continued growth from them since that moment in 2017. And then, Amazon around the same time in 2016 showed up and they've continued to grow massively in air cargo. And then in Rockford particularly, we've expanded their building for them from 72,000 square feet when they first started opening at the airport to their just under 200,000 square feet. Added, did two ramp expansions for aircraft parking to give them from 3 positions they originally started to up to 8 total positions for the 767s. And they've continued to move those 767s at a fairly decent clip in Rockford. I think right now we're at 9 flights a day, 7 days a week with them, and that's it looks like it's going to grow here again shortly as we get closer to Christmas. And then obviously with the expansion with international, we've since 2020 we've opened up 2 international warehouses on the airport. We've got 190,000 square feet between 2 buildings. Building 1 being 90,000, building 2 being 100,000. So roughly 9,000 square meters and 10,000 square meters. And then what we're getting ready to open a 3rd warehouse on the airfield, another 50,000 square feet, which will be going to a second handler, just to allow us to a second GHA on the field will allow us to continue to grow with our international operations. But really, yeah, the reason, the way we became the fastest growing and the way we've, kind of jumped, pretty significantly on the landed weight is just seeing that growth across all modes of cargo through Rockford.
Since you mentioned about the cargo warehouses, so you had the 90,000 that was opened in 2021, which was already there, and then you have 100,000 that was opened in April, and then you have commissioned a 50,000 in April. The construction is underway right now. Is that correct?
Correct. The building 3 will open hopefully before the end of the year, but more than likely it'll be about January of 23, and then probably in the next 30 to 45 days, we'll be announcing 100,000 square foot 3rd line warehouse outside the airport fence. Really to kind of help, just the additional capacity. This is another building the airport is self-developing to feed that, just to offer that flexibility and that the ability for our operators to continue to grow on the airport, but also have space for off airport warehousing as well.
You have currently how many cargo handlers at the airport?
At the moment, we have one. We have one. Emory Air is been here as an FBO for years. They've been really working on aircraft servicing. They got into the handling business back in 2020 when Senator showed up with Magma and Air Atlantic. They filled a role for us because we had all the capability in the world on the field, but we were building the warehouses. We needed GHA to set up on the airport, and they stepped up for us. But over the last 2-3 years of this continued to grow, we've been looking or had the second GHAs or handlers looking to set up operations. And right now we've got like the third warehouse that is under construction right now. That will go to a second. So we'll have two on the airport for that competitive market, and allow that additional capacity and elasticity, based on two companies being able to come in and service our airlines at whatever level they need.
Zach, tell us also, how does RFT keep setting new gold standards for air freight friendliness? Because that's something seems to be a unique quality for RFT.
From our approach to cargo is obviously being extremely business friendly, extremely cargo friendly. We're not approaching this as a large bureaucratic organization trying to set up roadblocks and challenges for companies to set up and do business in Rockford. We're really trying to make it a very business friendly approach. I mean, obviously we have our rules and regulations we have to follow, and we do, but it's trying to stand from that mindset as taking it from the mindset of a very entrepreneurial approach, understanding that we have to be aggressive. We can't allow others to kind of set our course for us. We have to step up and do that ourselves, and align with our partners and stay in front of our airlines and our freight forwarders and handlers to solve those challenges. We stay very focused on that, and I think that's really allowed us to be successful, because we're always trying to figure out how we can get it done, not trying to talk about the ways that and the challenges that could stop us from doing something. We're trying to find solutions to make sure we can deliver for our users.
How important is the geography, the location for RFT, because you are somewhere in the Midwest? Besides being freight friendly, how significant is the location for RFT for international freight?
Our location is vital for our growth and our being centrally located, like you mentioned, in the U.S. Only about 60 miles away from O'Hare, really is an advantage for us. I mean, we have a great highway network system that allows us access throughout U.S. through the road feeder systems. But yeah, really, when you look at it from Rockford's perspective, you're able to come in, land in Rockford. The airlines can taxi into parking in 5 minutes, still service the entire Midwest, very simply. I mean, one of the comments we had recently from a very large freight forwarder is that when they operate in Rockford, they save 24 hours. They're able to get their product out 24 hours in advance, just because the flexibility and the efficiency of coming into Rockford, but still being able to hit all of the same markets that they would if they came into O'Hare. There is also the advantage of the fact that being large forwarding community and the large amount of freight just 50 miles to the east of us, they're able to easily use Rockford, because there's a large 6-lane highway system that connects us directly to that same market, that you can be an hour to hour and 15 minutes. You're able to be operating out of Rockford and moving your freight between the two markets from there. But then, quite honestly, a lot of freight that's coming into Rockford is not going into Chicago. That access to and from, coming into Rockford and then being able to grab their freight quickly, directly from the airport, and then take it to its final destination from Rockford. We're able to hit anything within an 8 to 12 hour trucking distance from Rockford is a good solid market for us. So we've seen those efficiencies we've been talking about for years from the airline side, talking about that, those direct in approaches, short taxi times, lower fuel costs, but a lot more carbon savings related to the reduced fuel usage you see, and then just the ease of use that they're working with the airport. And then you start bringing in the backside of that is the less congested roadway system and the highway networks. You're just seeing those efficiencies across the entire operation by operating out of Rockford. So it's been great to prove. We've done test runs over the years, but with the pandemic, obviously, it drove a lot of people to look for alternative solutions to their traditional networks. And there's a lot of companies that we did business with prior to the pandemic that had used us on test runs that wanted to see what it would be on a permanent operation, and all those theories that we and all the efficiencies that we assumed and had some evidence of, we were really able to prove over this last 2 years that they do exist, and you can achieve by operating daily operations in Rockford.
One of your early airline customers was the UPS, early 1990s. Yes. I think it was 1994. How important was to have UPS as your customer to attract Amazon to fly into RFT in 2016?
It was, from a standpoint of airfield infrastructure, having UPS here, we would not, with, UPS coming here in the early 90s, the changes that the airport made, or be it longer runways, better air approaches to the airfield, just the infrastructure changes that happened in the early 90s really made us attractive to Amazon as they started to expand, looking at, and then from the standpoint of when you see UPS and this large integrator operating in Rockford and doing it successfully for, we're going on close to 30 years, now we're at 28 years now. It's not a mistake. UPS is not going to come in and operate and lose time and money by operating in Rockford. They've made it work. And then Amazon's done the same thing. I think having those two companies on the field really has solidified us, or, prior to the pandemic, seeing that in Rockford, seeing UPS and Amazon operating, being successful and having large operations, not small operations. We're the second largest operation in UPS's network and Amazon's network with their 52 airports they're serving. We're in the top probably 5 to 7 in terms of largest operations they have. Seeing that happen in Rockford, has been very, very helpful if we've talked to carriers, initially, but now, we've got the international operators coming in and out, and, it's a small community. And, then people experience Rockford. It's, that's one of our better selling points is you've experienced Rockford and seen that the positive outcomes. It's been very helpful to help others move in that direction, use this through charters or other freight forwarders kind of looking to say, hey, I'm going to partner on a flight in and out of Rockford. That's been great. I mean, obviously it's not been without, it's been with its challenges. You've seen this massive growth over the last few years, but we've been able to kind of adapt to it and continue to improve and continue to see the growth and expect to see the same over the next few years as well.
Do you expect to get more freight forwarders like Senator International and DB Schenker to build their own facilities to ensure that they are able to serve their customer better from an airport that is more freight friendly and away from congested passenger focused airport?
We've continued, over the last year, we've had, multiple large freight forwarders and small freight forwarders come out to the airport, take a tour, see what's going on and get more comfortable with it. I mean, recently had another German freight forwarder out here last week. Looking at the airport, from the standpoint of, could I do this similar to what's happening on with Schenker, Senator, and I know obviously DSV is another operator that's doing a lot out of Rockford. But yeah, we've seen that, and there's while we have in the airport, we've seen that growth. But one of the things that's another advantage of not just the airport but the region is we have a lot of available land for development, very close to the airport at much reduced rates and cost per acre than what you'd see in around the large metroplexes, around the O'Hares, the JFKs. We're seeing land that's great availability and very close proximity. So we are seeing, those freight forwarders take a look in those markets and kind of say, hey, is there some potential there? And also that, like I mentioned previously, that, the airport has some land just outside the fence that we're self-developing and marketing to as third line, for forwarders, trucking companies, others that, do expect to have success with that. And then, like I said, we've got on both the east and west sides of the airport, right off the highways that connect in from the airport, there's large developable plots that are available that been getting a lot of interest lately.
Cargo plays a very critical role in developing business for the airport, and of course for you, cargo is the dominant business for RFD and helps to contribute to local economy in terms of trade and employment. Can you give us a sense of the economic impact of RFD? And I believe when it began, I think it offered about 2,000 jobs for the local community and had about 1 billion plus economic impact.
Those numbers you just talked about, those are actually from 10 years ago. We just recently had a new economic study updated by the state of Illinois from the Department of Transportation. So previously in 2011, we had roughly around, like you mentioned, 2,000 jobs on the airport, 5,000 jobs supported regionally by what was happening on the airport, and then just shy of $1 billion in economic impact. The growth that we've seen over the last 10 years with those updated numbers, you got to take into account, the big things that have happened at the airport during that time, the growth of UPS, the growth of Amazon. We've had another large operator in the airport, AAR, which focuses on maintenance, repair, and overhaul activities for the airlines, and they're servicing the United Airlines 737 line in Rockford. And then all the growth related to international cargo, we've seen those numbers grow substantially. So like I said, 2,000 jobs roughly in 2011. Those numbers have grown to over 8,500 jobs on the airport campus. And then, regionally, previously that was around 5,000 regionally supported jobs. That number is almost 21,000 regionally supported jobs of what's happening at the airport. And then our economic impact has grown from just shy of $1 billion in impact to 4.7 billion. Of economic impact, and then that puts us as the third largest in terms of aviation economic impact in the state of Illinois. We're the third largest behind O'Hare, which I think they're right around 35 billion. Midway in the mid eights, they're around 8.5 billion, and then Rockford at 4.7. In seeing that step, obviously achieving what O'Hare is achieving, that's out there. But seeing that, in the last 10 years, we've seen a 4 times multiplier to get into that almost $5 billion of economic impact, seeing us close that gap, cargo will allow us to keep pushing and closing that gap up to O'Hare. I mean, that's one of the things with cargo is just the sheer amount of economic support it happens. I mean, landing the aircraft's the easy part. You bring that in, then the jobs start to really, the aircraft servicing, the trucking, the cargo build and break, and then it pushes out to the local economy, to the manufacturers and the other suppliers. I mean, that we really see a large economic impact related to those cargo operations. So it's been massive regionally to see what's happened over the last decade.
Zach, let's come to discuss technology and digital transformation. I believe these are the two trending topics in the last, we
Yes.
have heard it and overheard it in the last 2 years. According to you, what role do you think technology is playing to increasing the airport's cargo competitiveness?
The digital transformation in cargo is, like you said, it's the next step. It's the thing. It's something that I think the cargo industry has been trying to get on board with for the last decade or so, but really is kind of lagged behind in terms of the adoption. I think over the last 3 to 5 years, you've really seen that kind of push forward pretty substantially and quickly. From our standpoint, we see that as a future. I mean, it's vital for the airport to get involved in that. From the standpoint from the airport, directing our handlers and everyone to be involved in a community system. I mean, we as an airport are going to be instituting a air cargo community system on the airport that will be required for all users to be a part of. If you're going to operate in Rockford, you're going to be part of this system. That transparency of that system that allows us, to be connected and for the shippers to be involved in seeing what's happening with the movements, with the connected, be a connected airport, connected handler, connected to the airline, seeing those movements, that transparency, that's vital for everyone involved in the system. So, we see that as really, a move forward, and we agree that's definitely something that we want to be involved in, and one of the advantages we have related to that is the fact that we're relatively new in terms of our operators on the international side at the airport, bringing those systems in. We're not having to go in and push this an air cargo community system from the airport perspective into 25, 30 different clients that have been, that have leases that have been on the airfield for 15, 20 years. We're able to start that at the beginning and bring that in as part of it, and make it as a known operation, a known requirement to operate Rockford.
How creation, maintenance, and growth of cargo communities, we have seen it taking place in Europe, and now it's becoming a trend also in the US and the North Americas. How important is it going forward for RFD?
It's vital. I mean, for us, as we continue to grow and expand, having those lanes of communication and having a connected environment is able to pursue that. If we were trying to just let the airport just kind of progress, as how a lot of airports have in the U.S. without the adoption of this, I think it creates. It would make us less competitive going into the future. I think it's something that it's almost a requirement to really be involved in this on the front end, to keep that competitive environment and to allow the airport to know, one, what's going on, but two, to really help create those efficiencies for the clients.
Zach, can you please tell us at the moment what kind of digital tools or digital transformation programs are currently running at RFD, which actually helps the evacuation of cargo as quickly as possible from the airport?
We're in the very beginning of working with Kelly Solutions to really bring in their air cargo community system from the airport perspective. That we'll be working with them to adopt that and apply that to our users. But I know on the from the handler perspective, what's currently happening. I know Emory is using Cargo Spot as part of theirs as well to begin. So it's all very much at the very beginning process. I mean, one of the things to go back to technology integration, one of the things that we're looking at, we talked about building 3 being the 50,000. The airport has plans to look at something larger in the future, obviously, and bringing a very automated facility online as the market demands and the handlers, really kind of get in the mindset of the high value products at Rockford. So that's going to be the next step, that a very technologically driven facility that can connect into the cargo market to allow the efficiencies for the high value products to continue to transfer through, because that's where we really see our next move. We to offer something different, from the airport perspective, is to offer the highest level of service to the airlines, so they can offer those products and sell those products in and out of Rockford, that allow them to make money, as well as the handling companies to offer those same products to handle and produce revenue for them as well.
As someone responsible for operations and planning, what are the other types of technology tools, both in terms of software and hardware, that you think of deploying to improve cargo operations at the airport, to help shippers in speed to market strategies, especially for e-commerce, express cargo, perishable and pharma shipments?
From the airport operator perspective, one of the things that we're trying to do, especially from a planning perspective, is really get an understanding of the forecasting of the use of the field and the understanding from parking and warehousing needs that we need. Obviously, we're growing very rapidly, and it's not like you can bring these facilities online in under a year. We're very quick at bringing facilities in line and able to get something from a concept to market within 12 months. But it still creates challenges. So one of the things that we're trying to do and work very, very diligently with our airlines, as well as the cargo operators, is on those forecasting, looking at what's the cargo mix that is currently coming into Rockford, what's the gaps in the market that we need. I mean, pharma and perishables are 2 that we are really forecasting that need to be addressed. So the coolers and the redundant power systems that need to be required on the warehousing is something that we're moving into. That's not something that on building 1 or 2 initially we had. I mean, because it was mostly general cargo that was coming in, and a lot of perishables were coming in through envirotainers. So just offering a lot of receptacles to be plugged into, but knowing that that's the next step, knowing that we need to be able to offer those products. I mean, then kind of looking at, are we going to need to get involved in facilities for livestock transfer and those type of things. So really trying to kind of forecast that volume and that cargo mix for us is really what we're working with right now. And I think that's part of the reason, with the air cargo community system being, allowing us that visibility into what's happening and how we stay in front of this. Because we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we're offering the services that need to be offered to the carriers and the freight forwarders to make Rockford the best option for them.
Zach, how strongly do you feel that the future of freight is digital?
Very. I think that is, I think obviously the last 2 years have really shoved the digital transformation forward by about 5 to 10 years. I mean, I think that's been it's been a hot topic. It was a hot topic before the pandemic, but really in those last couple of years, you see a lot more press releases from other airports, airlines. Everyone is adopting this, and it's something that I think they've seen the benefits of it. But then it's also the regulators from the U.S. with the CBP and the one window system. Understanding that this is the way that we all need to move, reduction of paper, trying to remove those touch points, or make them digital touch points. I think it is extremely vital for the industry to move forward.
Do you think technology applications could be deployed to address sustainability goals? Because sustainability is again another important topic of discussion.
I think they can. I mean, from something as simple as technology to help with truck queues. I mean, if you're sitting there, just from a scheduling system related to truck queues on the airport, reducing the traffic flow in and around the airport, reducing those carbon emissions on something is, that's a low hanging fruit, and an item related, to that is those sustainability in shipments throughout all modes is I think that's another item that's out there that has to be addressed by everyone, from the airlines to the airports to shippers. Sustainability is one of those items out there that it's something that we all have to address, and I think looking at the forecasting of our growth and just the development of facilities on the airport in the future, bringing those in line is going to be a process that we have to do.
Tell us about the new technologies that you are passionate about and those that will help air cargo industry to deliver better, lower cost, and always be sustainable.
Yeah, so there are. I mean, for me, from both an airport operator perspective and a cargo perspective, I think the two that I'm really interested in is obviously the advent of EVs, electrical vehicles on airport and in the cargo operation. I think that is something that we've all seen coming over a number of years, but really have seen it drive forward pretty heavily. I mean, one of the things we're working with locally on that is an electrification study with the local electric utility. To really trying to stay involved in that, because it's not just EVs related to GSE or shipping. Electric aircraft are coming online. Electric aircraft are obviously not going to be used for international cargo shipments, but domestically, UPS, Amazon, there's a lot of movement related to EVs for electric aircraft for short range capabilities. So there's some interesting things there related to that. But then it also brings in another thing that I've been personally and looking at, obviously from an airport operators, autonomous operations. I mean, the autonomous GSE, but also autonomous aircraft. I mean, obviously we're not seeing that directly in the U.S. at the moment, but there are a lot of examples of autonomous small shipment cargo deliveries throughout Africa and parts of Asia that are very interesting. Seeing these things from an e-commerce standpoint, these small shipments being delivered by autonomous vehicle, things that don't have to necessarily go inside of a large aircraft, or it could be a last mile delivery on it would help reduce carbon emissions as well. So those two items I think from an airport operator perspective are something that I'm very interested in, both the electrification and autonomous operations. I think that the autonomous operation, you're starting to see it in cargo handling equipment and the movement of pallets inside warehouses, helping reduce the staff loads. I mean, that's another challenge I think we've all been dealing with in industry, and quite honestly throughout all industries, is the challenges related to workforce and trying to see where that there can be some solutions to help with that. I mean, obviously you're not going to completely replace with autonomous, but you are going to augment, and that's going to help reduce and allow the efficiencies to be more easily forecast into the operations. So yeah, the electrification and autonomous vehicles are two that I really I'm really passionate about.
What is the future of RFT cargo maybe 5 years from now?
5 years from now, fully expect to see further growth. Fully expect to see our international operations to establish on a larger scale. We've grown from zero direct international operations 3 years ago to about 100 to 120 fully loaded 747s, 777s coming in from all over the world. Continue to see that grow. Really kind of looking at scheduled air service with the airlines. Looking at we're doing a lot of stuff with forwarded directed charters. We do have some scheduled service that's out there marketed by the airlines. But that's the next step, seeing airlines operating the scheduled service out of Rockford. But then also looking at there's a couple airlines that we've been talking to that potentially could be basing in Rockford as well. So it's I expect to see that grow. It's going to be an interesting 5 years, that's for sure. Because it's going to be a challenge, just as the last 5 years have been, in terms of staying in front. Keeping the infrastructure in front of our users, which we've done a great job of, and don't have any indication that we're not going to continue to do the same. But it is there's been a lot more visibility on us over the last number of years. So we're getting a lot of interest and trying to make sure we're balancing that, trying to make sure that we continue to see growth, but also at the same time we're growing. We're also seeing service on the airport continue to improve, and then new services and certifications through our handlers coming out there as well. Just so the product offering, that suite of services on the airport is, we can handle anybody with anything at any time. That's the goal as we continue to move forward.
Zach, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much and wish
thank
you
you.
every best.
Loved it. Thank you very much.
That was Zach Oakley, Deputy Director of Operations and Planning at Chicago Rockford International Airport. I hope you enjoyed watching this interview. Give us a like and share this video with your friends and colleagues. Also, if you're not a subscriber of our YouTube channel, please do subscribe now and click the bell icon so that you do not miss any of our new videos. Join me next Thursday as I bring you a new guest in a fresh episode of Logistic Tech Dialogues presented by Kale Logistics Solutions. Until we meet again here, take care. Thanks for watching.